We're 20 seconds away from joining Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010. Welcome to the show. I have water somewhere. Oh, yes, invert. We're 20 seconds away for an hour and a half show. This is going to be the big one.
The Jerry Agar Show continues on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Got a traffic question? You want to get it answered by a traffic cop? Now's your time. Traffic Safety Programs, Traffic Operations has a program on TikTok at Traffic Services, and the host of that particular program is PC Sean Shapiro. And every once in a while, we tap into the TikTok broadcast and share the time. Sean Shapiro, good morning.
What's going on, Jerry?
You are. So let's start with this question. Mike Kaycook noticed that he's going to join me on Party for 2.5 an hour, and he sent it along. Is it illegal for a driver to speed up when you're trying to pass them?
So speed up to specifically block you from passing? Actually, that's stunt driving. It would fall into the stunt driving laws, and you would be able or they would be charged for that and lose their license for 30 days and their vehicle for 14. Obviously, it depends on the observations made by the officer, but yeah, it's not legal.
All right, so Robert from Mississauga is a very self-satisfied individual, and I say that because he calls a truck driver a name when he has no need to do that. So I'm going to edit, but what he said is, sir, I sped up when a dump truck tried to pass me on Trafalgar Road. Stone chips, no thanks. So is that a legitimate reason?
Is it legit to avoid getting stone chips? No. First of all, you can't go beyond the speed limit ever. That's not lawful. But blocking a truck, you put other people at risk. If they're passing you, you're doing something that's not safe. But you're better off to slow down or get out of the way if you're really concerned about stone chips. But stone chips don't give you the right to create a dangerous situation.
All right. You know, I had it this morning, actually. I came in on my bike, and I turned north on Spadina. And just as you cross Front Street on Spadina going north, there's construction going on there, and it splits the lanes, and we all have to do some lane changing. And the vehicle next to me on my left was not going that fast. And so I decided, well, I'll see if I can pull ahead, and then therefore I can then get around this traffic obstruction. I was on my motorcycle. As soon as I started to do that, he sped up. So I finally just thought, fine. Like, so this is not going to change my day. I slowed down and let him go, and then I pulled in behind him.
It's amazing how much, how personally people take traffic management. And it's funny, I recently spoke to a friend of mine about managing emotions when driving. It's a really important thing. People take everything very, very personally.
416-872-1010, 416-872-1010. If you have a question for Sean Shapiro, 877-518-5151, toll free, 877-518-5151. And you can text us at 71010. We'll get into some TikTok questions as well. Somebody writes, if you have stone chips falling off a dump truck, that's an insecure load, and that dump truck needs to be off the road. Well, that's another issue, but is that person right?
Well, a stone falling from a truck is one thing. Usually, it's being kicked up by tires. If it's falling out of the top, you're right; it's insecure. They don't have the tarp over it, or they're overfilled, and there's issues there. But it still doesn't give you the right to make a dangerous maneuver. Create space, slow down, but don't do dangerous things.
Here is Aaron from Mississauga.
Hi, Sean. How you doing?
Good. What's happening?
Okay, my question is that about the HOV lane. I noticed that every time I'm on this lane, I have people, non-emergency vehicles, tailgating me. I'm just following the speed limit. I got my car on cruise control. I got two people in the car. And then I have people tailgating me, flashing the light, honking the horn for me to move away. What do I do in this case? I thought it's not a passing lane.
Well, even if it was a passing lane, if you're doing the speed limit, you're doing the right thing. Speeding or passing is not something you need to do if you're in that lane. It is for you to be in, because generally an HOV lane is going to be moving faster than the traffic to the right. Now, someone tailgating you and flashing their lights to get you out of the way, they need to pack their patience and slow down, because they're not entitled to go faster.
So I'm okay to set my car at 100, cruise, and I can just cruise on that, right?
Well, yeah, you're not allowed to speed, so you shouldn't be speeding. You should not be going anything above the posted speed limit. Although I've heard of people suggesting that it is, what is it called? It's unnecessary slow driving to do the speed limit. It's preposterous.
That's just a notion, not a thing. All right, Aaron, thanks for your call.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. I get why people get in the HOV lane and they think I want to go 130, and so everybody in front of me should go 130. But that's not a right that they have, and they can flash their lights all they want.
Well, that's it, and it could escalate into something else, and that's not good. But ultimately, the issue is with the person who's trying to break the law by speeding and trying to bully you into getting out of the way. We have a lot of inappropriate driving behavior on the roads, and
You think?
yeah, it's out of control. It really is something well beyond what's okay. I don't get it.
All right, here is John from Brooklyn. John?
Yeah, hi. Every day on the traffic reports, there's a called car stalled right-hand lane. Probably because of either A, the gas, or they just got a poorly maintained car. Thousands are being held up. Are these people fined?
There's no fine for having a vehicle that happens to fail. We can't. If there's a vehicle that's on the road that's unsafe to be on the road, that's a different story. They could be held responsible. More often than not, these vehicles are simply towed away and not investigated. But running out of gas is poor planning, but not an offense under the Highway Traffic Act that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Here is Dave. Dave, go ahead.
Hi. I'd like to ask the officer if he realizes that every car on the 407 and pretty much every car on the 401 as well, when it's not traffic congested, is going about 120. Is everybody breaking the law, or is that something that's...
No, they're absolutely breaking the law. It's not permitted at all. Now, is the focus on every vehicle that's going over the speed limit? It isn't, and it would be we are incapable of stopping absolutely everybody. So what we tend to do is look for the vehicles that are going over over that. It doesn't make what they're doing okay. It is illegal, and they can be charged, and they are at times charged. One officer can only stop one vehicle at a time because they're basically busy, and at that point they're not monitoring speed. But we can only stop what we stop. And we hope that through education and discussion about this, we get people to slow down, because you increase your odds of being involved in a collision. For every 5 kilometers over the speed limit, you increase your odds of collision by 2 times. So there's a real reason to slow down.
Officer, you know what? That sounds like a political answer, like something Trudeau might say. The honest answer is everybody is going that fast.
The honest answer is they're all breaking the law, and they're all entitled to a ticket for it if they were able to be stopped and if it was being enforced.
Dave, you called to ask what the law is. He told you. If you don't like it, then you call Trudeau and tell him we need to change speed limits.
Okay, well, thanks. I'll slow down to 100 on the highway, and everybody will be honking at me and angry. And
you know what? Maybe you start a trend, and everybody follows suit, and we all stop and get safer, and we have less collisions, and we have safer results or fewer injuries as a result. That's the goal. That's the goal.
But wait a minute, Dave, don't hang up, because I'm going to ask a devil's advocate question for you here, Sean. And that is, if I'm not disagreeing with you, but you're a police officer and everybody's going 120, the speed limit's 100, everybody's going 120. Are you looking for the guy who decides he's going to go 140? Because the practical aspect is, if everybody's flowing together, you might not want to just start yanking cars out of that flow.
So first off, I should say that I'm a Toronto police officer, and the highways that I would be policing on are the Don Valley Parkway and the Fred Gardner Expressway. So 90 kilometers an hour would be the speed limit. And if the flow of if everyone's going once, I'm not going to waste my time with those. I'm looking for the high flyers. I'm looking for someone who's out of the pack. It doesn't make what they're doing correct, but it is impossible for me to stop everybody. Now, if there's no high flyers, I might just pick someone out of the crowd and say, by the way, this is your time. You're going to get the ticket for speeding, and that would still be legitimate.
Well, maybe you'll meet Dave someday.
There you go.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Meanwhile, here's a question from Bob that ties in. Go ahead, Bob.
Sorry, but raising the speed limit is a terrible idea with the gas prices the way they are now. And I don't think it's common knowledge, but we should educate people the fact that you can save a ton of money by actually going below the speed limit if you want to in the right-hand lane. And that's what I do. And generally, I'm okay when I do that, except the odd clown flashes their lights at me, even if I'm going the speed limit, for God's sake.
So I set my speedometer. Sorry,
if it's illegal, is it illegal to go 10 or 15 kilometers below the speed limit if you're in the right-hand lane, minding your own business, and people can pass you, even if everybody else is speeding?
There could be a concern if people are making dangerous maneuvers to get around you, if it's so unnecessary. I don't think 10 kilometers is unreasonable. If you were doing 20 or 30 kilometers under the speed limit on a highway setting, I think that might be something that could be creating a dangerous situation. So that's different. But I do agree with you. I set my cruise control at the speed limit. People get very upset with me, and then oddly enough, I end up at the same place at the same time in a populated area in cityscapes. You're not saving any time by going faster. And you're wasting your brakes and you're wasting your gas.
Shapiro is with us. He's also on TikTok. We'll delve into some TikTok questions coming up in just a moment and take your calls as well in the next segment on the iHeartRadio Talk Network. It's 9:45. News Talk 1010 Time Saver Traffic.
Okay, we'll be on break for about 5 minutes, I'm guessing. So we'll come back to things. Boy, that guy was really upset about the speeding concept. And listen, I am not going to say that we will ticket everybody for going 20 over, because it's impossible for us to stop everybody. But that's not an invitation to speed. It doesn't make it okay. And we'd all be safer if we slowed down. That's without question the fact. Collisions occur, and when they do occur, the damage and the risk to death are higher at higher speeds. It's just what it's going to be. So I appreciate that people don't like that answer, but it is the answer that's the correct one. What is this? I know your jurisdiction is Toronto, but I drive from, what is this? Sorry, jumping into the chat for a second. From Brampton, Niagara Falls, I usually ... I don't have to follow up. Oh, go around 1 to 110. Oh, I see. Yeah, if you're going 100 to 110, if you're over the posted limit, you are breaking the law. And what I do is I answer the law. I explain what the law says. And if you break the law, that's on you. If you get a ticket, like someone says, you never get a ticket for doing 20 over, it's safe. Well, that's not true, because I have TikToks of guys getting pulled over for 120. Other people have posted it. It happens. Even if it's not me doing it, someone's going to stop you from breaking the law, because if you're standing out of the crowd by doing 120, you're an easy target because you're breaking the law. You're providing yourself. You're putting you're giving your wallet. That's what you're doing. You're offering it up. I have a question. Oh, that's a great question for the radio when we come back in a minute or two. But I'll read it out loud. The question is, can a passenger sleep in my RV bed while I drive? The answer in just a few minutes. Let me see here. I want to see if there's anybody in our Volley. Trafficcop.ca. Trafficcop.ca will get you into our Volley group. Volley is a space where you can ask us questions 24/7, and we give priority to those questions when we're on a show. Our show, Ask a Traffic Cop, is a good example of that. But when we come back, if there's a Volley, we'll try and use that first. So just saying, you might be able to skip the line by joining our community. Now, don't do it just to skip the line. Do it because you want to be part of this community, chatting about traffic and police stuff all the time, because that's what it's for. Because I check it. It's not live chat, but it's live that I get it, and I respond to it when I have time. So it's a thing. Hey, if you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live on the internet and sometimes on the radio like we are now. We're about to come back from break and chat with the folks from News Talk 1010, namely Jerry Agar, the host of that show, because the show's called Jerry Agar Show, the Jerry Agar Show. What just happened here? I got an unknown error. The timeout call expired. I don't know what this error is, but it's a good one. I should take a picture of it. So when I call tech support, I can say, I know what happened. Well, or I don't know what happened, but this is what it said. Okay, I took a picture. Well, let's see what's going on here. 2 minutes till we come back. We got lots of time. We can chat about things for ages. What is this? Somebody just moved to Manitoba. Another Manitoban? Does that mean you might be the second one? All right. If anybody wants to call into News Talk and you're watching from Toronto and you're watching on TikTok or Instagram, the telephone number is 416-872-1010. Or you can also text at 71010 to be getting into their call board. So Jerry will ask me the question on your behalf. Just going to check onto the Volley, open it up so I can see if there's any updates. Volley. Here we go. There was a question yesterday from Volley, and actually that was a good question. Let me go into it. The question was, no, that was not a question. That was a comment. No, we got to hope. Am I in the wrong one? That's general. I want to go into Q&A. All right. It was a question from, who was it? No, that's not the question I want. Here it is. Okay, I can't do this. I can't find it. I thought it was the wrong one. Okay. We're 1 minute away. I'm reading chat from the radio station right now. Okay. Boy, oh boy. 554 people just waiting for Jerry to come back. Any second now. We are going to talk about... Oh, we got a couple of good questions here. Okay, we got talking about kids in car seats. That's a good question. Speed enforcement cameras. That's also a good question. Okay. I've got some help here today. Q is sending me some messages that are coming in from the chat because the chat is bananas. It always is. So it's hard to I can't keep up with it. And Q&A, just so I can check. Still broken. Thanks, TikTok. If you are one.
This is the Jerry Agar Show on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And we're with Sean Shapiro, the PC TikTok traffic cop, and he's usually on TikTok at Traffic Services, but we join in every once in a while and take advantage of the opportunity to get some traffic questions answered. And I have a question actually about my behavior yesterday, now that I think about it, Sean. All right. So here's what happened. I left work and I got on Spadina. I'm headed south in this case toward the Gardner, and we're at a red light, and then the red light changes and a couple of cars go, and the car in front of me doesn't go. So I wait a bit. I'm not one of those people who thinks that you have a half a second to go or I have to angrily honk my horn. But I thought, I don't think this person's paying attention. So I just went beep with my horn, and I got the little wave, and the person went on. Here's the funny part. Guess who that person was? Becky, guess who that person was?
I'm
was
scared.
it me?
It was you. What happened, Becky?
This rarely happens. I stalled my car.
Okay. Were you angry when I beeped the horn?
No, because it was a polite, and I went, oh, geez, okay. I'm like, and I knew what the problem was. It wasn't like, because especially if I was daydreaming, because that happens to everybody, I would have been really embarrassed, but thankful, like, I would be appreciative that you gave the instead of that where it's like, okay, it just changed. You need to calm down.
And then I realized as she pulled away that it was Becky, and then you realized after a bit that it was me.
Well, I looked and went, oh, that's Jerry.
Yeah. Okay. So, but the real question is it appropriate to beep your horn in that situation?
Absolutely. A horn is a communication tool. It's not just like the end of the world horn. It's the, hey, pay attention horn. It's the wake up and, pay attention to what you're doing. You're supposed to be driving. It is a form of communication. I drove in Europe. I actually went to Italy and rented a car, and it's amazing. The horn is an extension of your being there. It's just constant horn, but it's very effective, and it's not angry. It's not aggressive. It's just communication, and it helps people do what they're supposed to be doing, which is focus on the task at hand.
Yeah, sometimes it is angry people, and you can tell,
Sure.
and that's too much. Now, what are people asking you about on TikTok?
Well, I had a great question that I don't think has ever been asked before, and it is, can I have someone sleep in my RV while I drive? So the RV, there's a difference between a trailered RV and an RV, but they have to be wearing seatbelts if they're inside your RV, is my understanding. If you have a trailer, it's totally different. You cannot leave someone in the trailer. That is I guess a camper. You can't tow someone in the back.
I wouldn't want to be in something towed in the back and going to sleep. But if I was in a self-contained RV, there's a bed in the back, I would feel comfortable laying down and sleeping there. You're telling me, well, you're not likely to get pulled over, because how would a cop even know that?
That's a separate situation. We wouldn't know. We're not going to pull you over to start inspecting who's in bed and who's not. But my understanding is that they're supposed to be in a seatbelt position while the vehicle's in motion. And
so you're not, as a cop, you don't go, I wonder what's going on in that RV.
It depends. Well, I'm not going to go there.
Okay. If this RV's rocking, the cop comes knocking. That's where we were going. How about one more TikTok question, and we'll go to the calls.
Okay, what is this? Can I drive without, what is this? Can I drive alone if the car is insured, but I am not? I have a G2. So this is a common question we get with newer drivers. Mom and dad has a car, it's insured. They want to know if now that they have a G2, can they drive alone? Well, the answer is, as a G2 driver, you can drive any vehicle that's covered under that G stream, so automobiles, light trucks, and so on. Do you have to be listed as an insured party or be insured individually? No, because in Ontario, the vehicle is insured, not the driver. However, insurance companies can choose to include or exclude exclude people. So if you are living with your mom and dad, you should be listed based on the insurance company's requirements, and they could deny you in the event of a claim if you live in the same address, because that's a violation of their, or maybe a violation of their rules. But you can loan your car to any licensed driver. I would, however, check to make sure that license is valid, and you can use the MTO website to do that. It's a free website you can access. Just Google MTO license check. And I think, Jerry, we've talked about this before. It'll tell you if it's valid or not, but it may not tell you what designation it has.
All right. Here is Ben from Toronto. Ben, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. I normally find this slot or this show very informative. Thank you. But in regards to the call, I think it was from Aaron regarding the HOV lanes and doing exactly the speed limit with people trying to get behind you. I think the TikTok cop's advice was worth about as much as a Tic Tac there. That was a real disservice there. You might be, yes, you're right, to the letter of the law. But in practicality, you'd be causing, with that recommendation, so many more accidents, so much more frustration, just by human nature. I'm not saying it's right, but it's going to happen, and it does happen.
So what you want, Ben, is for me to find a cop who will just make stuff up, like not actually tell you what the law is.
I just said, he said the truth, and he's correct by the letter of the law. But that advice, even when you're trained, they say, go with the flow of traffic. He used Europe as an example of how they use the horn in a different way. This would never fly in the highway system of Germany or.
Well, we're not in Germany, Ben. Well, we're on the
we understand
Queensway.
That. I keep saying that, but in practical terms.
Okay, got your point, Sean.
So I got to tell you, in Germany is a great example, and I've driven the Autobahn. You have to know that in Germany, there's a higher a caliber of driver because it's harder to get your license. 1, 2, speed limits are strictly enforced where speed limits exist. So the Autobahn has areas in populated areas 80 to 130 kilometers. And if you speed there, you're getting a ticket. So this whole concept of bully driving, where you get behind someone and honk the horn and push them out, trying to force them or bully them out of the way, that would not be tolerated there. You can't be an aggressive driver. And what you're suggesting is that we should just speed because we don't want to offend people. Well, there are people who are breaking the law that deserve to be offended. They need to slow down because speeding kills. That's it.
You know what? If I'm on the HOV lane and I can get to at least 100, I'm happy because, by the time you get to that Ford plant, if you're headed down to Niagara, you're down to about 20. I'm as happy if I can go 100. Here's Rob from Cambridge.
Hi, Jerry. I was just wondering, in the Highway Traffic Act, it says drivers are to stay in the right lane except to overtake slower vehicles, particularly in the city on 4-lane roads. This is where you'll get 2 cars just driving along at the same speed, and that invariably starts to back up traffic and tempers start to flare. Why is that law never enforced?
Well, there's a law for unnecessary slow driving, but I'm not familiar with any law that requires everyone to remain in the right lane unless they're passing. Now, there are some signs that are erected that say, stay right except to pass. That's different because that's a sign that would be regulated on highways. But there is no obligation for you to stay to your right lane if you're not passing on city roads or even the highway. All the speed limits, all the lanes have their own or the same speed limit unless there's a sign directing you otherwise.
Okay. Well, and then he hung up. Okay. Here's Maggie.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. If I am on the highway and I see somebody speeding and I go behind that person and speed along with him behind him, is it true that they only pull over the first person?
There is no hard and fast rule. You could be the first person, the second person. Some say they pick the first because they win the prize. Sometimes multiple vehicles will pull over or be pulled over together. There is no safe space to speed. It's not legal.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So she was trying to draft on the, on the
racing technique on the edge of the Indy here.
Oh, have you ever done a situation where you pulled over 2 cars at the same time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for speed, but I have pulled over multiple vehicles for offenses.
All right. Sean Shapiro is the TikTok traffic cop, or at least that's what I call him. He's actually PC Sean Shapiro. He's on @Traffic Services on TikTok on a regular basis and joins us from time to time. We'll do it again. Always great. Thanks very much.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon.
All right. Coming up, it's Party for Two and Mike K. Cook.
I get to shut it down. Boy, there are some unhappy people today, and that's okay. I'm not here to make people happy. I'm here to give people the info they need to be safe on the road, or at very least to make informed decisions. If you're going to break the law, that's on you. At least you know what the law is when you choose to make the decision to make the roads unsafe with your behavior. I know, not popular speak, but it is what it is. And yeah, not cool. HOV lanes. People seem to think it's for going fast. It's not. HOV lanes are to allow you to get through traffic often when the other traffic isn't moving at all. So you have a safe place to travel when people are, in bumper-to-bumper traffic. That's that incentive. That's what it's for, not for being in the far left lane, zipping past at high speed. You know what? I'm glad that I disrupted a few people's days, because maybe they're going to rethink things. Maybe not. Can we use a bright light in the rear to annoy high beam drivers? No, that would be illegal. You can't project light other than red or amber to the rear. Using that would be specifically a new kind of bad idea. But it's interesting. I've never heard anyone say that. I've seen people put signs in the rear window that light up, like back off, and you hit a button, or someone gets the bird because a hand on a hinge flips up when you hit the button. This was popular. The It Store. Does anyone remember the It Store? That's what was. That is what I remember seeing available for sale at the It Store. That's all, apparently I'm old. Mr. Green Jeans. Does anybody remember Mr. Green Jeans? Is that still a thing? I think it was the Mr. Green Jeans store that had all sorts of weird and wacky things. And if you can basically shop there while you were waiting for your table at Mr. Green Jeans, which was, by the way, at the Eaton Center. And they had magic soup. It was broccoli cheddar soup, and I think that's where I developed my love for broccoli cheddar soup. Austinator says, "Hey, buddy," coming in from Facebook. How you doing? Stephen Bell with a hey. It was hi. How are you today? I'm doing very well, Stephen. I upset someone on Jerry's show, but I'm doing all right. Tracy Bell says, "Good morning, Sean, from beautiful Lakeside Stony Creek." Well, that sounds awesome. A lake would be cool. My house was not cool today. My air conditioning was being repaired today, but it was like unreasonably hot in my house today. Yeah. So I say Spadina, and does anyone know what the actual pronunciation is? I mean, I know Q does, and I know too, but I still stick with Spadina because that's the common way to refer to it, even though it's not correct. Spadina is the actual name. It's a surname, and Spadina. Is that going to mess you up now? From now on, you're going to drive around going, "I'm going to drive on Spadina." Yeah, just call it Spadina. Everybody else on the planet will know what you're talking about. Okay. Greetings and salutations from Michaela Draconis coming in from YouTube. And yeah, this has been an awesome morning. And it's just starting because this is the regular time, the 10 o'clock time when we get to do our regular show now that Jerry Agar and the gang have hopped off. But let's talk about the fact that Vision Zero enforcement team on this wonderful... Oh, what's going on here? Did it not populate? We had an error. There is an error. I need an alarm for errors. Okay, hang on a second. Let me pull up the stats because I need to let everybody know where the Vision Zero enforcement team is because I was going to tell you where they were yesterday, and that's no good. Stand by. I need to press the home button and go to the appropriate website. But these are important things. Hey, if you have questions, this is a great opportunity to plug how you can ask those questions because we are in many, many different places. We are currently on Instagram Live, and you can use the Q&A feature because, lo and behold, Instagram doesn't get everything right, but they certainly have Q&A functioning for moi. Instagram is, it's a place. I don't spend as much time as I spend on TikTok there, but it works. Their Q&A works. TikTok, your Q&A is broken, at least for this account and for Aaron's, but I can't explain it. I have to do a video asking other creators if they're having the same issue because on my VoiceOver Cop account, Q&A works. I don't get it. Does Q&A work for you when you go live? If you're watching this and you have Q&A or you do lives, I'd really like to know. And like I said, I'm going to have to do a video to specifically call them out and ask the question because this is negatively impacting the viewing experience for our viewers. So thus, it is important to me. Okay. Today being the 20th, all day, the Division Zero enforcement team were in 14 Division and 55 Division. Yeah. We're gonna tell you about the neighborhoods of where that is in just a second because you know what I'm going to do? I have a list of them. Okay, we said 14. TPS. We're going to do it. TPS. boy, this is smooth. And VZ. Okay. All right. Hey, and I've got an answer. So 14th Division is the neighborhoods of Christie, Ossington, Annex, and Little Italy. It sounds so polished when it's actually on the screen, and I'm reading it. But you know what? I can't list all the, I don't remember all of the different divisions and all the neighborhoods that go with it. One day I will, but I'm not there yet. Okay, I got to click back. Now, the other division I said was 55 Division. Well, we know we're 55. Everyone knows 55 Division. Okay, but I don't know all the neighborhoods, because neighborhoods are this little tidbit of information that if you live there, you know it's the beaches, right? 55 is the beaches, but it's also Riverdale and Danforth and East York. And if you're in those communities, they're out there helping you by changing driver behavior, one ticket at a time. Oh, yeah. Not everybody likes getting a ticket, but it certainly changes behavior, even if it just one person could save a life. All right. Tyler Sherman says, is camber illegal because I was pulled over by OPP, but got not tickets except for no front plate? Not everybody understands camber and to what degree it would be considered unsafe. They may have thought it was acceptable. Camber, generally speaking, is illegal. It would change the contact patch, the way that your vehicle handles on the road. It's not something that is safe. It also depends on how extreme it is. If it's just a little bit and only on certain tires, maybe they thought it was okay. And I can't really tell you without looking at it. Generally speaking, camber is not legal. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, welcome. If you are on anywhere but, well, if you're watching on Facebook, you can ask us questions right in the chat. You can do it on LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube as well. However, Twitter, you got to go to trafficcop.ca. Actually, if you're on TikTok, you might benefit from going to trafficcop.ca. What does that do? It brings you to our Volley space. Volley is another platform, because there are so many platforms, but this one rocks because it allows you to communicate directly with me and ask questions, and other people in the community too. Small group, but if you ask questions there, you get priority in the question lineup. All right. We've got Sabu. Is it Sabu? Am I pronouncing that right? Can you see my writing? I'm on Facebook. I do see you. I see your writing. I see you. If you have questions, please throw them in there. It's a cool thing that we broadcast using a fantastic product called Restream. And they allow us to hit go on one camera, that camera right there, and simultaneously go to YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And actually, there's other platforms that we don't use because they're gaming platforms, like only gaming platforms, or they're outside of the area that we're trying to talk to. But we're right now broadcasting on 8 different platforms just through Restream. So very cool stuff. Are roll cages illegal? And fuel cells. Well, fuel cells, if they're installed properly and legally, I imagine they'd be okay. Roll cages, however, true roll cages for racing would require you, if you want to be safe, to wear a helmet and all sorts of, like a Hans device? Hans device? I don't know how to pronounce it. You need to wear equipment. Otherwise, a minor collision could result in brain damage. What you think is for safety isn't, unless you're doing it all the way. And on a racetrack, so it's not safe for the road, not legal. Okay. Can you daily drive a car with a temp sticker? Your temp sticker is only for the purposes of taking it to the mechanic. So is it a legal plate at that point? If it's safe, you got to have a safety on it. And then that temp sticker, the whole idea of a temp sticker is to get it to a mechanic to be certified and not to drive it as a daily driver. So I'm going to say no. Okay. How come I can't modify my exhaust slightly, but many cars come out of factory very loud? So if a vehicle comes out of factory and is sold in Ontario, it must meet the requirements, whatever those requirements are. I believe it's 74 decibels at idle. But it doesn't matter what you drive. Brand new Honda Civic, which doesn't have a loud exhaust, could get an unnecessary noise violation in the event that it was creating unnecessary noise by way of driver behavior or defect in the hardware or any number of things. So if you play your stereo loud, that's unnecessary noise too. And this, throws people a curveball. You're not allowed to make noise. Now, muffler charges isn't the common charge. Like if your muffler's chopped off and you don't have one, you get a no muffler charge. Improper muffler or no muffler. That's different. You could additionally get a charge for unnecessary noise for making noise. That could be your horn, your stereo, or your muffler. Okay. Stephen Bell says, I'm here until the QA box on TikTok. I've put in a complaint. Oh, good. Yeah, if you're watching us on TikTok, put in a complaint saying it's not working for us. Maybe many voices will make it better. It will definitely improve our ability to answer. Okay. Performance of duty officers shoot gun hit my parked car. Who pays for that? What? So if there's a shooting involving police officers and a round hits your car, I would imagine that the police would be, or if it was a police round, I imagine the police would be responsible. But I actually have no idea. It's a very interesting question that has yet, if I could give you an award for asking a question never being asked, Jake here, that would be you, because I don't know the answer. But I would speculate that if we did it, whether it was intentional or unintentional, it would probably be paid for by the service or through our insurance or something, because we would have to have liability coverage. And if it was from another person involved, like if it was, I want to say the bad guy, because usually if someone's shooting, they're not the good guy usually. So the other guy, then maybe your insurance would cover it. I don't know. I want to ask somebody now. I want to find out. Oh, here's an interesting question. If my passenger is watching a movie and the screen is in the front seat, is that illegal? So there's a charge for distracted driving in Ontario, and there's 3 sections. There's one that talks about specifically you using your handheld communication device, you as the driver using your handheld entertainment device. And finally, there is one that says screen visible to driver. So if that movie is playing on the front and you can clearly see it whether you're looking at it or not, that's a charge. So it's still distracted driving, $615, 3 demerit points, and 3 days suspension on conviction. Cool. All right. I was wondering if you knew what is this? Tyler Sherman wants to know the exact. So there's no Camber charge. It would be unsafe vehicle. Because if you look at the light, so this is a follow-up. Tyler wants to know about the HTA section for cambered wheels. So I think that would fall under the light vehicle and passenger and light vehicle inspection guide. It would be out of the regulations to be safetied, and if it's out of the regulations to be safetied, it's unsafe. So then you'd lose your license plates, have them seized, and you'd be charged for a drive unsafe vehicle on road. And the charge for unsafe vehicle let's see here, because I can look that up very easily. Unsafe vehicle. Can I find this? Refuse or fail to remove unsafe vehicle from highways, $170. Operate unsafe vehicle on highway contrary to, that's if you don't listen to us after we tell you. Operate unsafe vehicle. It's a no set fine, so it means you go to court and you lose your plates, but it's 84 sub 1 of the Highway Traffic Act. That's where I go. Okay, let's go and say, okay, we already covered that. Okay. We're covered there. We're done with Q&A on Instagram until something else pops up. We have got everybody there good. Let's see what's going on here. For a pocket bike, do you need a license and plate and insurance? What's the rule for those? Pocket bikes are motor vehicles. Now, I don't think they're legal. They're legal for the road. I don't think you can plate them. I think there was a period of time when people did. I imagine a bunch of people got really hurt because they're not safe for the road. So if they have VIN numbers, they would have been platable. But I don't know if that's still the case. You probably have a difficult time getting a plate for it today. It's a motorcycle that is just, pocket bikes. They're ridiculous, in my opinion. Off-road only, at least with today's rules. And I'm trying to remember, did I see them with plates? I seem to think that they used to have plates. But you're talking about a miniature tiny bike that you'd see someone's head over your bumper or your over your hood of your car. You just see the helmet. Just so dangerous. And there was a racing league that had them, I think. Like they'd take them to the track and people would just run them around and crash and slide. Okay. I was hit on Monday. The guy ran the red. His passenger left the scene. What if he fails to report that? What if the passenger fails to report what they saw? So if you were hit, and I don't know, obviously I'm just reading what you've put on. If the driver failed to remain, well, they're eligible for hit and run, right? Failed to remain collision, it's a charge if they didn't exchange their information. The passenger is just a biased witness. Now, maybe that person was wanted for something, and that's why they ran. Police investigation. You call police, you explain to them. I don't know if you were in a vehicle or not, but someone runs, maybe that's worthy of speaking to dispatch, getting some direction. When you go to the collision reporting center, if you were sent to one, include that tidbit of information. But I don't know what else I can tell you about this. Passengers aren't always relevant to an investigation because they're biased. They're usually going to tell you something that corroborates the story of the driver, so they're biased because they're friends of the driver. If they were an unbiased person, like someone in the back of an Uber, their statement has more weight, generally speaking. Peter, did I miss your original question or did I not get it? Oh, okay. I think I didn't see the first part. Do red light cameras give tickets to those who turn left and break the left turn traffic light? I'm not sure if it went through. Do red light cameras give tickets to those who turn left and break the left turn arrow? So red light cameras are for people who go through a red light. So if it's green and they're not supposed to go through the green, or if there's a no turn sign, I don't believe that those cameras cover that. It's specifically traveling past a stop bar at speed, failing to stop. That's it. That's my understanding. If you make a right turn, because you're allowed to make a right turn on red, requires you to stop prior to making that right turn. If you do that, you don't get a ticket. But if you just make the right turn without stopping, that would go. But left turn, when you're talking about that left turn arrow advanced, no, I don't think it would. But I could be wrong. I don't believe it would give you a ticket for those. But you know what? Every municipality sets things differently. I don't even think we have red light cameras where we have an advanced. But I'm guessing here. All right. I take my cars to the track, but the cars are kind of loud. Should I flatbed them instead of driving them to the track to avoid tickets? If your vehicle is a track car and not a road car, then it shouldn't be even plated. Like if your vehicles are not set up to be legal on the road, they shouldn't be on the road. You shouldn't have license plates on them. They're race cars. That's it. If you drive them and you get tickets, then you know why you're getting tickets, because it all depends on how loud. Like loud, a brand new Lamborghini 12-cylinder is going to be louder than a 4-cylinder, tiny little commuter car. That doesn't mean it's unreasonable. If you wind that stock Lamborghini up, that's going to make unreasonable noise because you're revving it up to redline. Everything, there's behavior, there's equipment and or lack of equipment, and then there is defect. And those are three separate things. You can have a perfectly legal vehicle that makes too much noise based on driver behavior, and that's really what I'm trying to get at. All right, talked about that. Is it legal for motorcycles and bicycles to drive in between traffic? No, that's called lane splitting. It's illegal, careless driving, or even stunt driving, depending on the situation. We talked about that. What about underglow under trucks? So if the truck isn't raised, like here's the problem. There's no underglow law. There's no law that says you cannot have or you must not have underglow because X, Y, and Z. There are rules like improper headlights. And people say, well, that's not underglow. I have headlights in the front, underglow's underneath. Right, but if I can see the bulb from the front, you're projecting light forward, thus you would fall into the space of the forward-facing headlight. And you can't have more than 4, and you can't project lights in certain colors in the front. So you're looking at problems in other areas. That's where I'm going with this. So if you have a high truck, more likely that the bulbs are going to be visible in other directions, I would avoid underglow. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Are you allowed to tint your license plate? You can't modify your license plate at all, nor can you put a cover on it, being clear or color. Can't tint it, can't modify it, can't obstruct it, can't prevent it from being legible in any way, shape, or form. Can't cover it even with a license plate frame. The ones that come from your dealership, totally illegal. I don't think they want to pay the ticket for you, though. I would take it off. When a dealer puts their plastic plate on, not only do I find it awkward that I'm driving around with advertising for them on a vehicle that I own and pay for, that's only one side of things. You want to know where I bought it? Ask me. I don't need to advertise for you. Secondly, it's against the law, and you can get a $110 ticket for having that license plate frame. Now, we are not pulling over every vehicle we see that has that license plate frame. Not happening. But you got to know you could be getting a ticket, and you might get it. I've given it. Today, I've got a very, I'm slowing down today. Today's a slow day. I have one burnt out headlight. Will I get in trouble? Under the Highway Traffic Act in Ontario, you must have 2 headlights to the front, 1 taillight to the rear that is active and working. So if you have a burnt out headlight, you can get a ticket for having improper headlights, and that's $110. And there's no, it's just burnt out. No, technically you're violating it. Now, obviously, it's required at night, half an hour before sundown, half an hour after sun up. You don't have to have lights on during the day, so you can't get that charge during the day. If it burns out during the day, this is where you're checking your stuff, doing circle checks, really important, because maybe you don't drive at night for a month. I don't know what your schedule is. You don't notice it. and then you drive around one night and you get a ticket. It'll happen. Now, do people always get convicted of that? No. Sometimes they'll take a ticket to court and say, here, proof that I fixed it. That's up to the judge. That's up to the Crown if they want to proceed. But the charge is valid because at the time you were stopped, you had the violation. You had one headlight only. Okay, if a G2 lost their license for speeding for 30 days, how do they know when it's back and okay? Well, you lose your license. You don't have it on you. So you have your license in your pocket. You can't use your license because it was suspended. So you would have to go and to reapply, get it reinstated because that license is no longer valid. At that point, when you get your license reinstated, they're going to charge you a reinstatement fee. I think it's $250 or something to that effect. So you don't just willy-nilly decide 30 days are up, I'm good to go. No, you go to the ministry and you get your license reinstated. Otherwise, you're driving without a license. Okay, my car was bought from a Nissan dealership as a used car. A safety was done on the car without a muffler at the dealership. How would I go about fixing that? Well, first of all, if you think that they should not have said, well, is a muffler even part of safety? That's an emissions requirement. Yeah, I talked to your dealership and find out why your vehicle is missing a muffler. That's a big question because they should have sold you something that was legal. And if it was sold in Ontario, selling it without a muffler is a problem. Go talk to them. Maybe they'll put it on for you. Okay. If you hit a deer and your windows get broken and car is pretty banged up, can you still drive it? If it's the windshield, no. And even if you could drive it, call a tow truck. You know what? You hit something with the front of your vehicle, you could have a delayed or a delayed deployment of your airbags. So you're driving along because you think you can limp home with your broken car, and then your airbags deploy and break your nose or something. You know, I'm just making it's a bad idea. I'd want to get my vehicle checked out and. I'd avoid driving it if it was damaged. If you're talking about a dent in the door, like a deer runs into your door is different than it runs into your front windshield. If it's obstructed or shattered or cracked, no, that's unsafe. So I would not suggest you drive it. I would call it tow. What's the fine for a tinted license plate? I can't speak today. License plate cover, $110. For dirty plate, $110. For obstructed license plate, for plate not plainly legible or I have to look at the wording exactly. But effectively, anything related to your license plate is going to be $110, pretty much. When we have to pay to replace illegible plate? When? If it's illegible. If you have an illegible license plate, if it's peeling, if it's bubbling, all those things could result in a charge, which is $110. Take it to the ministry. If it's covered under there's a 5-year warranty. If it's covered under that 5-year warranty, it won't cost you anything. If it does not get covered for whatever reason, or if it's beyond the warranty period, it might cost you, I think, $52. Things have gone up. It used to be $10 for plates. Can you put your license plate on the dashboard? No, you can't. You have to install it on the front of your vehicle. Oddly enough, the windshield is not in the front of the vehicle. It faces forward, faces the front of your vehicle, but is not the front of the vehicle. So it is something that has to be in the on the front. So I say tow hook adapter, proper mounting place if one exists, or the grill by zip ties even, front of the vehicle. Can police give rides if someone is lost? It is not a requirement, but it is something that if someone is in distress or having a problem, that's what we kind of do. As long as, we wouldn't just leave you in the middle of the road usually. I say usually because there could be something. We're on our way to a gun call. We can't give you a ride to the closest bus stop. But we do have the ability of helping people out if the opportunity is there. We try. Difference between yellow solid line and white solid line. Love this question. It's a good question. So the difference is the direction of travel of the traffic on the other side of that line. So if you are looking to the other side of a yellow line, the traffic should be coming towards you. If you are looking to the other side of a white line, they should be going in the same direction of you. Okay, Sabu says, if I wave thank you by opening my window and bring my arm out to a kind driver who let me in a slow-moving traffic, did I do an illegal act? No. There's no law against waving thank you, or to be more specific, there's no law saying you cannot stick your arm out the window that I'm aware of. I've never heard of anything like that. I'm pretty confident in saying it's not against the law. And if it is, I've done it a lot because I thank people when they let me in. What is it? If I'm wrong, I don't want to be right. got to be. Waving communicating thanks is something we don't do enough. Jeep owners, everyone waves. Harley riders, everybody waves. Being nice to each other, we should do more of that. It's nice. I will add to Q's comment, who says, "Don't hang out your car window. Don't take pictures. Rollers. Not sitting in the seatbelt is different than waving to somebody." I will say this: people who just hang their hand out the window over the ledge, in the event that there's a collision, that hand is going bye-bye. So I don't advocate or suggest people leave their limbs hanging out windows. And speaking of limbs, they were too quick. They left me yesterday, but I was at a stoplight beside a woman and I think her son, and the son had both feet up on the airbag on the passenger dashboard. And by the time I got my window open and tried to get their attention, the light changed and they drove away. That is a surefire way to get severely injured in the event of a collision. And okay, they were not moving in traffic. So what's the risk? Well, what happens if you get rear-ended and your vehicle then gets propelled into the vehicle in front of you and your airbags deploy? Your legs get severely injured. It's not a good day at the office. Okay. Ralph from YouTube says, "I witnessed a motorcycle weaving in traffic and going in between cars. There was no plate visible in the rear fender. The rider had a GoPro on the helmet. Is it even possible to report to police?" So this is a problem. So a description, if you have dash camera, this is all great stuff. We make notes. We look for vehicles of a certain if they're not showing a plate, but they have a distinctive backpack helmet sticker pattern, these things are great because we like to build files looking for vehicles who are doing this kind of thing. But is it reasonable? If you make a report, do you think we're going to get them? No, it's going to be added to the file, and we're going to hope to find them at one point in time. We like to catch those ourselves. And I say we like to because we can actually act on it. It's very difficult if you make a report to have an unknown motorcycle going in a direction. It's unlikely that would go very far. So it doesn't hurt to make the report. I would use the website tps.ca/core, CORE. That would be my suggestion. But I wouldn't. I don't think you're going to find a lot of satisfaction after you do it. Just won't. But it makes you feel good. You can do it. It certainly can't hurt. Okay. How can I remove my 3-day suspension on license? You go get it reinstated at the HTA by the MTO. I want to say that I want to phone a friend. I want to make sure. I earlier said you have to pay for a reinstatement fee. I'm now questioning if I'm correct. I've never been suspended, oddly enough, and I know that with suspensions you generally have to get a reinstatement fee. I think you do. Go to the MTO and then you pay your whatever the cost is. So what happens if your plates get stolen off your truck? Can you get a ticket for not having a plate? Yes. Still your responsibility to display both your plates. So if they're stolen, you got to report them. One, report them stolen. If you don't have a police report, there's really nothing supporting your allegation that they were stolen. And two, you need to go buy new plates. Simple as that. Is the TPS doing ride-alongs or still no because of COVID? Ops still had them on hold. I think you mean OPP. I'm not aware of whether or not they are back. I would say call the employment unit or call any police division that you want to try and get a ride-along and get an idea of what they're doing. I'm not aware. Okay. This is a common question. Is it illegal to drive with a hitch when not towing anything? I am not aware of any law that would prevent you from doing that, other than if the hitch is somehow obstructing your license plate from being read. That's the only thing. Okay. And Sergeant Campbell often discusses the fact that if you were to damage your vehicle due to a collision, then because the hitch was there, it transferred energy to your frame, bending the frame that had not been for that hitch. So there's a possibility your insurance might be unhappy with it. But I'm not aware of any law that you'd be breaking. I saw a motorcycle with no license plates. What's the deal with that? Well, oddly enough, it could be an e-bike. I say e-bike very loosely because there are electric motorcycles that have pedals and people call them e-bikes, and I think it's a farce. Chances are that's a motorcycle that simply has a limiter on it and is being sold that shouldn't be sold. But anyway, I digress. If it's truly a motorcycle, gas-powered and all, it needs to have a license plate. If it doesn't, that person is choosing to hide their identity because they're probably going to do something that's not legal. Just saying. If sometimes they bend them up and you can't see it, but it's there. Either way, it's still illegal. If it is in fact one of those e-bikes, know that there are regulations about e-bikes. They cannot be capable of traveling more than 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface, and they cannot have a motor that is more than 500 watts. So I met someone at the Honda Indy over the last weekend. Nice guy. We're shooting the poop and about stuff and things, because I do that. We're talking about laws and motorcycles, and he's carrying a helmet. He says, "You should see my e-bike. I got a really cool e-bike." And he pulls up a picture of an e-bike that has a flame paint job, and it looks like a race motorcycle. Like, it looks like a sport bike. I'm like, "That's an e-bike?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "How fast does it go?" 32 kilometers an hour. I know the law. There's a governor on it, and I have the governor there. Cool. How big's the motor? 2,000 watts. So I told him it's illegal. That instantly becomes a motorcycle. It's no longer covered under the legislation because the legislation is very specific. So I found that he says, "I'm going back. I just bought it. I'm going to go back and return it. I'm going to go talk to them. They lied to me. They told me it was legal." And they did lie to him if they represented it as a legal e-bike. So know what you're buying before you buy it, because you get the ticket, not the dealership. Sabu says, "I always thank the green light when I go through an intersection by waving my hand. It's also thank you all law-abiding drivers who have stopped behind the red." You know what? We don't appreciate the little things like people following the rules. I got to tell you, as someone who has been involved in a motor vehicle collision more than once, one on duty, a couple off duty, I really appreciate safe drivers. I am not a fan of those who put lives at risk, because not only do you put my life at risk, you risk the lives of people I care about every day. We all have people, friends and family, who travel throughout the cities, and one bad decision from one driver could change the rest of our lives. I say our lives because if my good friend gets killed or hurt, my life is also affected. It's a community thing. I don't want people I care about. I don't want people I don't care about to get hurt. I don't want anyone to get hurt. But fact of life, it's going to happen. And we talk about Vision Zero all the time, and we accept that minor fender benders are going to happen. We accept that it's not always unicorns and rainbows. Sometimes people get hurt. So if and collisions occur, but we would prefer those to be minor injuries and not the ones leading to serious injury and death. Call me funny that way. Is it illegal to put a lift kit on a truck? There are maximums that make it safe. There's a maximum distance. Your headlights can be off the ground. There's a maximum distance from your body lift kit. There are maximums. Your vehicle tires, the wheels must be covered. They must be under a fender. You must have mud flaps. There's a lot of things that putting lift kits on would make it illegal. So you need to make sure it's legit, or you expect yourself to be ticketed, stopped, and investigated, and possibly pulled off the road because there's just a lot of regulations. Vehicles are sold in a way that they are safe. They're designed to be safe. As soon as you start modifying things, you are really taking liability and chances. And looks are great. Things look cool when you get modified. And when you make them unsafe and you take someone's life because of it, not cool. Bumpers that are really, really high pose a specific risk to pedestrians. And it's just not. I think we need to be a lot more strict on the enforcement of certain things and vehicles that are severely modified to make them dangerous. And not because you're trying to make them dangerous, but monster trucks shouldn't be on the road. So depends on how lift you're lifting. How lifty you get? I don't know. What do we got here? How slow does someone have to go before impeding the flow of traffic? Well, you have to be impeding the flow of traffic, and it has to be unreasonable. I don't think 10 or 20 kilometers under the speed limit is unreasonable. I think 30 to 40 is. So it's going to be based on the observations of the officer. Are you in the left lane doing 30 to 40 under, or even 20 under? Are people forced to go around you unsafely? Now, they're not necessarily being safe, but you're creating that unsafe environment by putting yourself in a position you shouldn't be in. Even if it's not law that you can't be in the left lane, it's not reasonable. Get over to the right lane. If you are over to the right lane, I'd leave you alone. And if you're in the left lane, I'd probably have a conversation with you. Even if I don't lay the charge, we're going to have a talk. So how slow is too slow? Depends on the officer. There's no specific number listed. How about people with dogs on their laps as they're driving? Could be careless driving, could be drive while crowded, could be either one of those. At the end of the day, your dog should be tethered in the back seat or crated in the back seat for their safety and yours. What are the rules with emerging on the highway? Should drivers move out of the way? Ideally, we'd love to see, like when I'm just cruising, if I'm just setting and forgetting and just going, I am in the center lane of a 3-lane road, of a 3-lane highway. If I'm passing, I'm going to be in the left lane. If I'm standing at the flow of traffic, which is no more than the speed limit, then I'm going to be in the center lane. If someone's going below the speed limit in front of me and I want to pass them, I'm going to go into the passing lane. But when I'm approaching a on-ramp, I am looking ahead. That's a whole idea of looking at the what's it called? The horizon. I want to look as far forward as I can. If I see traffic coming on and I'm in the right lane, I want to move into the center lane. I want to give room for those people coming in. It's not about fighting for pole position here. We're not racing. Let people in. I will often have to slow down, adjust to create gap because you want that even zipper. You don't want someone to have to hammer the gas to get in safely. You don't want someone to have to reduce their speed to try and find space. It's not about, yes, they have to come in to drive the speed of the highway. They need to accelerate reasonably, but you have to give them room. It's cooperative driving here. So many people are focused on me. Well, them. You know what I mean? All right. Are Lexan windows legal? If they're optically correct and approved, I'm going to say probably not. But I don't know. Lexan window. Why would you want a Lexan window? Is that so it doesn't break? It'd be hard to extract someone from a vehicle after a crash if you can't get through the window. Very often, window punching is exactly what we're doing. Those also, I'm going to say no. I don't. I'm by no means. This is not my wheelhouse. I do not know about Lexan plexiglass windows as an alternative, but I'm going to say I don't think that they're legal. Someone tell me the answer. If you're a mechanic and you're watching, where's master technician? He would know. Okay. He deals with bulletproof vehicles too, I believe. We met in person finally at the at Honda Indy, which is cool. Met a lot of folks that watch us. Really awesome. Can you answer my question, please? Maybe you missed it. I was ticketed for going through an amber. Yes. Clutch wants to know, and the truth is, going through an amber is against the law. Boom, boom, boom. Hold on. Yes, it's against the law. I haven't pressed a button in a while. Going through an amber is the same as going through a red light. If the only time you can go through an amber, if it would be unsafe for you to if it would be unsafe for you to stop, then going through the amber is okay. But amber means stop unless it's unsafe to do so. So, that's the answer. It's a legit ticket. It's the same as going through a red light. This whole concept of hammer down and make it through the amber, totally against the law. Can you drive barefoot? Yes, legally in Ontario you can. However, we don't suggest it. What happens if you get into a collision? You got no shoes in the car, and now you're walking through a hot surface, possibly that was just on fire, broken glass. Like, we're not talking about a happy day. Have shoes. Even if you be barefoot when you get out of the car, if you want to, after in safe conditions, I would suggest driving with shoes, and even flip flops aren't safe. You could have them. They're legal, but they're not safe because they can become like slide off your feet, get stuck behind pedals, mess up your day. Oh, Q says Lexan isn't recommended for any cars. It scratches easily. That makes sense. It's a softer material, isn't it? It's hard to break, but have you ever seen Lexan after a while after it's installed? It's nearly opaque. Look at half the just forget Lexan. Look at all the plastic plate covers. You can't read the license plates through them because they become so murky. Yeah, I think my belief that they're illegal is an accurate belief, even though it's not based on anything other than a belief. Okay, should dogs be in the back seat with a belt? So with a tether in the back or crated, absolutely. That's the best place. And for children, not comparing children to dogs, but you know what I'm saying. Children should be in the back seat until they're 14 years old because that's the safest place. Even small statured people, just because you're old enough to be in the front seat, or you could be an adult. If you're a shorter person, your risk of injury from airbag deployment is greater than a taller person. So if you are small, you might benefit from being in the back seat. I'm not saying you have to. Obviously, the people who drive who are vertically challenged. However, if you want the safest place is going to be the back seat. Crumple zones and things happen in collisions. Okay. What is a traffic offense that is not a lot of people know? I have to use the reserve brain power for that today. I'm not ready for it. Today is an off day for me. I'm not feeling so hot. I'm feeling off. I'm feeling tired. Possibly because possibly because the air conditioning isn't working and I'm not sleeping well. That's just what it is. Okay. So yeah, trying to think of, well, a lot of people didn't know it was illegal to have license plate covers. A lot of people didn't know that it was actually legal to wear headphones in Ontario. I'm trying to think of things that people don't realize. A lot of people grew up thinking you couldn't make lane changes within an intersection. It's not advisable, but it's not illegal. So I'm kind of going, I don't know where to go with this. I can't think of anything. Q reminds that we had the dome light. It's legal to have your interior lights on at night. Not a good idea, but it's legal. So you're saying offenses. I'm saying what's not an offense because I can't come up with anything that's an offense that people don't know is an offense. Most of it's common sense. Things you shouldn't do, you shouldn't do. What are the fines or consequences of jaywalking, and is this enforced often? Jaywalking is not an offense in Ontario. You're allowed to cross the road outside of an intersection. Now, if you're within 50 meters of a signalized intersection, there is a bylaw. Is it bylaw or HTA? You're supposed to use the crosswalk. You're supposed to cross at the signalized intersection. Not only is it safer, but it's safer. But if there's a 4-mile road with no crosswalk and no lights, then somewhere mid-block is legal. You have to do it safely, but it's legal. Okay. So what do we have here? Okay. How do you ask for help if you're in an Uber car and feel unsafe? How to call 911? 911. You could also say, pull over, I'd like to get out here. You could also record on your phone while you're doing that. You could call 911 and say that you are in a particular location and, start with asking to get out of the car. That's a good place. Stop here. I've changed my mind. I'm going somewhere else. I've used Uber like once, and it was because they gave a $10 coupon. I was in Ottawa at a police memorial, and I wanted to try it out. I don't use Uber, so I don't really have a good solution. But I do know people who we could ask, and we should maybe talk about feeling safe in other people's vehicles, and talk about it with our crime prevention people. Maybe with our, I got some people we can talk to. Maybe we'll have a podcast episode about it. But I'm trying to think of. I would just nonchalantly say, I think I forgot something. I want to get out here. Pull over. If at that point you have a problem, now you're escalating. It's a 911 call. If they won't let you out of the vehicle, that's a scary concept. I got to think about this. If you rear-ended someone because of ice, are you at fault or is it no one's fault? The answer to that is it is your fault. So if you're following too close, if you're driving too fast for road conditions, you're still responsible as the driver. You're responsible for whatever that vehicle does. There's no such thing as I'm not at fault after hitting somebody situation. Yeah. Hey, if you want to buy tickets, I'm sorry segueing this way, but I just looked up and I saw a blue line on my screen that says Special Olympics, and it reminded me of the fact that I've not yet said this today. The deal is that you can buy a ticket for a Harley-Davidson raffle. It's harleyraffle.ca, and by doing that, you support Special Olympics Ontario, while also increasing your odds of winning a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. That's it. $20 for one ticket, $50 for three. Obviously, buying 3 for $50 is a better deal, so I like that. Volley app, we've talked about it, but I haven't looked down. Let's see if Volley app has some volleys waiting for us. No, traffic.ca. trafficcop.ca. If you want to go there, you can join our volley group. You can talk to us 24/7. I don't answer 24/7. I turn off my phone at night. But if I see questions there, they do become part of the show tomorrow. I will also answer you there. Cool. Okay, I got notifications on my Apple Watch that someone liked our Twitter. Do you use Twitter? Who uses stuff like Twitter? Okay. Grown up, always told never get into a stranger's car. Then along came Uber. It is a unique concept, I think. I obviously it works for a lot of people, but hey, someone joined Volley. Chase has a question. What is this? I gotta open it up to read it. Okay, let's see what Chase has to say.
Hey, Sean. So I have a question for all of us as G1 drivers. One of the scenarios I want to use as an example is, for example, I personally have elderly in the car that are G1 that are supervising me, And as a part of that is they can't really walk. So in a plaza or at a shopping
This is not Chase, but this is a question that came up yesterday that I wanted to address.
center, am I allowed to drop them off at a designated drop-off section to let them go and I could go park, or do I have to be supervised during the parking as well? Because as I said, they're elderly and they cannot really.
That's actually Michael's question. It was from yesterday. I meant to talk about it earlier. Sorry, Michael. Okay, so the answer is on private property, a driver's license is not enforceable. So if you're a G1 driver on private property, I can't write you a ticket for not being supervised. Private property. Now, is it a good idea for you to drive unsupervised while you move the vehicle after dropping your elderly parents or grandparents or whomever they are, your supervising drivers at the door and then driving to a parking spot? No, because you're also not insured when you're alone. Your coverage is going to be when you are being supervised. So I'm not suggesting that. What I am going to suggest is if they're elderly and have difficulty walking, that they apply for an accessibility permit. If you have an accessible permit, or if they have it, I should say, you'd be entitled to park the vehicle, even though they're supervising you, in an accessible spot. And then you could make a shorter trip to the door. That's the way to do it safely. Now, you cannot use an accessible permit after the person who is named on the permit gets out of the vehicle. This happens to a lot of people where they say, okay, I'm going to drop you at the door, even if you were licensed and you're not, so I'm not suggesting you drive alone. A lot of people will drive with the accessible permit after dropping the person who's the owner of the permit, and then go drive off and use that would be illegal. You could lose your permit for that. Okay, let's see. We have some questions for parking that we're going to leave for Aaron, and then here's Chase's question.
So if you're legally parked, your keys are not in the vehicle, you have no way of starting it, are you allowed to consume or have open alcohol just if you're sitting in the car you want to drink, or is that still driving while impaired or something?
So it's a very interesting scenario. People usually talk about can you sleep it off in your car? And there's been a question of if you have the keys, if you don't have the keys. So if you really don't have keys or access, how do you get in the car? I mean, I honestly asked that. I don't know. You can't just hide the key somewhere and then get in the car and sleep it off. You could be sitting in a situation where you could be arrested for impaired operation because care and control of that vehicle is real. And it hasn't really happened to me where I start searching for keys. Just don't be in a car, and certainly don't have open alcohol or consume alcohol in a car, because that would be, although a different section, that would be liquor license. I think it's Liquor License Act, not because criminal code is for the over 80 and the impaired, and operation, I should say. And then you have the Liquor License Act that would cover the consumption inside of open alcohol in a car. So yeah, everything's still active. I'm going to tell you, don't do it. Period. I want to get some clarification. I have our breath coordinator down the hall. Maybe I'll ask him and we'll do a video about it, because there's a ton of videos I want to do. And I apparently have information falling out of one ear as I cram more information in. So I can't remember. I can't remember the details of how it works exactly. And I want to give you the best information possible, so we're going to record a video about it. But yeah, do not consume alcohol in a motor vehicle or conveyance of any kind. A, because you can be charged for that. B, if you are sleeping it off, don't do it. Don't sleep it off in a motor vehicle. Call a cab, go home. Call a company that picks up your car and transports your vehicle home for you while transporting you as well. Those are good ideas. Being inside of your car is a bad idea. One of the biggest problems with people who want to sleep it off is they think in 4 hours that they're good to go. I've arrested people the next day that are still drunk from the night before. They get home, they take a taxi home, they did all the right things, but they're still drunk when they wake up and they think they're okay. They get in the car, they get into a minor fender bender, which is the situation that I'm referencing in my noggin, is that, the guy had a minor collision, came to investigate the collision, smelled alcohol, had him blow, and, I got to talk to you. We got a question about impaired. He's walking up. We're going to ask him. You don't have to be on camera, but I got to ask you a question. And maybe you can grab a microphone and a set of earphones, and I'll tell you. Here, this is a microphone. Actually, you don't have to hear them because there's nothing to hear. But here's the microphone. You're live now. Okay. So the question is, I'll play you the question. This is so much easier than me trying to repeat it.
So if you're legally parked, your keys are not in the vehicle, you have no way of starting it, are you allowed to consume or have open alcohol just if you're sitting in the car you want to drink? Or
That's Liquor License Act. You can't consume alcohol in a vehicle regardless if you have the keys. Okay, so that's confirmed. And then in terms of sleeping it off, this is a bad idea. You can end up being charged because inside of a vehicle, if you are under the influence of alcohol, you're still carrying control. He is nodding for that does not want to be on camera. Okay, cool. So I was in the right place. I said it out loud, and I said it, and I'm like, yeah, I just want to confirm it. So cool. All right, there you go. There you go, folks. Let's see what's going on here. You know, some people don't like being on camera. That was a good example. Can I cover my VIN number on my vehicle? So it's funny you say that. You can't remove it, but I've been hearing crime prevention tips saying cover it so that people can't actually make keys to unlock your vehicle. So it's mixed information. There's let me look up the law because I can do that. VIN. Can I look up VIN? Is it VIN number? Is it under vehicle identification? I'm doing searches. I don't know what it's like. Vehicle. So yeah, you see, if you alter it or deface it or remove it, it's against the law. Covering it's not against the law. I didn't think it was. Is that a Chase wants to know, is that shirt available at the 808? This is our this is the latest and greatest TSV merch, but it's not available anywhere. This is a member shirt only. This is my alternate kind of, I'm going to a meeting right after the show and it's off-site, so I'm wearing something that is representative of what I do, where I work, but it's not available for sale. Neither are these, but these are cool. Vision Zero Traffic, my water mug. Yes. Not available at the 808 either. Maybe they should be. Okay. I saw a truck. Where is this? Thanks, Mike. I saw your shout out there just now. I saw a truck with wide tires with almost half the tires outside of the body frame without the fender above the tires. Okay. Is that legal or not? You are not legally permitted to have tires that extend beyond the fender. That's why there's fender flare kits, so you can cover them. Not legal to have it extended beyond the bodywork. They also have to have mud flaps to be legal. Like, you got to prevent stone chips and rooster tails and all those things. And aside from just creating an issue when it comes to wet and dirty roads, when it comes to shooting things up, if you were to catch a pedestrian with your tire, you would just do incredible damage. So they're absolutely illegal, and there should be more enforcement on them. Can you answer? We covered that. Have you ever pulled over an off-duty officer? I'd feel like there'd be an interesting scenario. It's an uncomfortable scenario, isn't it? I've pulled over on-duty police officers that were undercover because I didn't check to see, they don't come back as saying they're police officers. They're literally undercover. So I've pulled over police officers that are undercover or plainclothes. I've done that. But that's not so undercover because they're legally allowed to do a whole bunch of things, which is why they got pulled over. They're allowed to exceed the speed limit because they were doing something. They got pulled over. It was a no big deal. But yeah, my biggest fear is pulling over someone and it turns out to be an impaired driver. That's a police officer because they're still getting arrested. But man, that's uncomfortable. I haven't had to do it. I did arrest the child of a police officer and they got charged. It's just what it is. There's no special treatment. Uncomfortable? Oh yeah. Did it happen? Yeah. Okay. What if you're camping and have the car parked but are drinking in and around it? So again, camping or not, you cannot consume alcohol in a car, period. Around it, you're not in the car. Then you're in a campground, you can consume alcohol. Assuming the rules allow you to do that. I don't know anything about camping, I don't camp. But in a motorhome, you can. It's an exemption. You can consume alcohol in a parked motorhome because it is a dual function. It's not considered a vehicle when it's parked in use as a motorhome. So that's the one exemption that I'm aware of. Oh, can you talk about colored window tint? Is it still lets 70% of the light through? Window tint, 70% light comes through. If it's the windows left and right of the driver, that's the only ones we're really concerned about, other than the windshield, which is total prohibition. You can't tint your windshield. And colored reflective tint isn't legal, but colored tint, and you talk about gray tint or tint, gradient tint, it's all color, whether it's gray or it's blue or it's green. You can have no more than 30% light blockage, thus allowing 70% through. Now, if you cannot at night see through because it's dark, and that happens when atmospheric conditions change, it's still illegal to obscure the interior of your vehicle. So you could be charged for that. Somebody wants to explain what Vision Zero is. Vision Zero is awesome. There's basically a concept that the vision for road safety is to have zero deaths. That's the goal. Zero deaths, zero injuries. We want that. At the same time, they acknowledge that minor collisions are going to happen, that you can't make it just stop. So the goal is to reduce the situations through design of roads, making safe spaces for cyclists and vulnerable road users, and reduce speed limits. Or the idea is to make it safer through design and change driver behavior through enforcement and education. So I'm part of that education. The folks that are out there doing the enforcement are doing the enforcement, and then the cities are involved with changing the road designs. You'll notice that in Toronto, we reduced speed limits all over the city. 50s became 40s, 40s became 30s, and that's because a pedestrian being struck at those speeds, at the lower speeds, are more likely to survive. And it's all about that, making sure the people you love and care about come home safe and sound every day. Even you. We want you to. Apparently mod merch still has to happen. I still have that heat transfer material. I still got to make those t-shirts. Yeah, like a year ago, we were gonna make some stuff for the mods, and we haven't done it yet. I have to finalize the design. I got no time. That's my problem. No time. Is there a consequence for wasting 911 time with inappropriate calls? I see this so often. Yeah, you can be charged. I don't know if it's mischief or what the charge is, because I'm not involved with that. But yeah, you call 911 and you're just messing around. Expect to get charged. Somebody asked me on Twitter last night about how to prevent swatting. I honestly have no idea. And I say that because the person who when you make false calls to 911, that's mischief. You can be charged for that. But calls have to be considered, taken seriously. So I've not heard recently of swatting issues. I'm not even sure if swatting has happened in our area, but certainly we have to take calls seriously. And that's my assumption, my belief, because I don't work there. Additionally, the people that make those false calls, they get investigated. So Q was gracious enough to look up and found the following. False, frivolous, or vexatious 911 calls range from a $100 fine to $5,000 fine for the first offense, and subsequent offenses could be $10,000 each. Public mischief in Canada. Interesting. See, things I don't know everything. Never claimed to know everything. I know stuff and things, but not everything. It is 10:56. And that doesn't mean anything. It just means it's 10:56. But at 11 o'clock, I got to go because I got a meeting at 11:30 offsite. Can you flat tow a car using a truck to get it somewhere? Can you flat tow a car using a truck to get it somewhere? It's a tow truck or a race truck or a vehicle that's capable of safely transporting another vehicle? I don't know where you're going with this question. I mean, yeah, that's what tow trucks do. So what are we talking about? I want to know. I don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, today's an off day. I think I'm going to sleep from now until tomorrow, and we'll try this again. A reset. I need a big reset. I think I need food. Can a cop ask me to start my car and give me tickets about my modified car if my car is off and in park? If you're on private, I don't know about on private property. We can compel you to do an inspection. I don't know what the rules are for where you could be. If you're on private property at the time, I think you have to be on the road. That's my understanding. If you're on the road, if you were driving, I think we can, at that point, I know we can compel you to for an inspection. But if you're parked and it's just parked on private property, I don't know if that meets the grade. So, but if you're just pulled over and you turned it off and we ask you to turn it back on, or we say honk the horn and do things like that, that's part of an inspection. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Truth. A lot of modified vehicles. Listen, modified vehicles don't make you a bad person. There was a follow-up question. Is it illegal not to have a working horn? Yeah, a working horn is a requirement. You must have it. A lot of people modify their vehicles, take the standard steering wheel out. and suddenly there's no horn on the replacement one, and they haven't wired a switch off to the side, yeah, that's an offense. Your vehicle's unsafe. No horn. What's the offense for no horn? Okay, horn. No horn motor vehicle, $110. Every motor vehicle, motor-assisted bicycle, and bicycle shall be equipped with an alarm bell, gong, or horn, which shall be kept in good working order and sounded whenever it is reasonably necessary to notify pedestrians or others of its approach. Interesting. I don't think I've read that section that way. Because are you supposed to gong every time there's a pedestrian? Because you're notifying. That's interesting. Oh, God, I hope people don't start doing that. All right. Let's start the wind down. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's a big day. Tomorrow we have our regular show from 10 to 11. And then from noon till whenever the interview is over, I'll be going live on, again, but it's for doing a creator spotlight with Restream. Restream is a company that actually does our broadcasting. And they want to talk about what we do with their audience. So we're going to talk about it tomorrow. Anything else to talk about? Follow us. That's what we talk about. If you don't already follow us, please do. We create content all the time. We talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and sometimes we do it with more energy than we have today. But today's an off day. And I'm not going to be hard on myself about that. I think I deserve to have an off day now and again. Some days I'm on fire. Today's not fire. Today's chill. Just slowing down and breathing. Okay. Here. Sorry, I meant to use regular pickup truck to flat tow a car towing someone's house or what? Not a tow truck. You're talking about actually just pulling another vehicle? You have to look up what the deal is. I don't know what's required for that. Most of the time you want to have it on a lift of some kind. Anyway, we are out. 10 seconds down. Chief Noah, we'll talk about flat towing cars when I find out the answer to that question.
10, 9, 8.
Trafficop.ca. Trafficop.ca. Trafficop.ca.
4.
Ask us questions afterwards. Actually, go to trafficop.ca. Put it there.
0.
And follow us.